Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through some of the problems on the 16B Part 2 assignment. First one we're going to take a look at here is number 1. Sample size of 36 is taken. The sample mean X is 23.75. Sample standard deviation is 3.97. We're required to test hypothesis HO, where our mean is 25, and against H1, our alternate hypothesis, where our mean is less than 25. So for part A, find the test statistic. Okay, so normally in our steps, the first thing we do is we write out HO and H1. They've already done that for us. We find the significance level, which is showing up at 5. We're going straight to the test statistic, which is on our graphing calculator. Okay, so go over to stat. We're going to go over to test, and we're going to go down to the t-test. Right, and then we're going to put in our info. So now, sometimes you've got the raw data, and sometimes we have the statistics. In this case, they gave us the statistics because we've got the mean and the standard deviation and the sample size. So we are going to click stats. Our mean that we're going to test this against is 25 because they gave us that. Okay, and then our sample mean is 23.75. Sample standard deviation 3.97, and the sample size of 36 will be our n. Okay, and then what we want to do down here is they are asking us over here to we want to figure out when the mean is going to be less than. We want to figure out what's the probability of it being less than 25. So here's our mean, our UO. That's going to be our 25. So we want to figure out when it's going to be less than 25. Okay, so we go down to calculate, and we get that our test statistic is negative 1.89 if we round that off. So A part I, negative 1.89 is our test statistic. The p-value on this thing here is 0.336 if we round that off. Right, so 0.33.0, I missed a 0 in there, didn't I? 0.0336, right? Yep. And then what decisions should be made at a 5% level? So our basically what they didn't ask us to do, which we have to do on this here, is to write our rejection inequality. So our rejection inequality is always reject HO if we end up with our p-value being less than our alpha, which is our 5% level, our significance level, right? So we know that this is 0.05, and then our p-value we just figured out is 0.0336. Is 0.0336 less than 0.05? This is true. So since it's true, we are going to reject HO. So that means that this part is gone, and we are going to accept our alternate hypothesis, which is the mean is going to be less than 25. Okay? Okay, that's all really we have for one. Let's take a look here at number 6. A machine packs sugar into 1 kilogram bags. It's known that the masses of the bags of sugar are normally distributed. A random sample of 8 filled bags was taken, and the masses of the bags measured to the nearest gram. The masses in grams were this here. Perform a test at the 1% level. Determine whether the machine underfills the bags. So one kind of important thing to note here is this is all in grams and this is in kilograms. So 1 kilogram is the same thing as 1,000 grams. So we'll want to make sure we've got everything in the same, using the same different scale. Got to use the same scale for both. They can't be different. Okay, so this is where we actually have the raw data. So what we want to do is go back into our calculator, second quit to get out to our main screen. And we're going to do stats. Instead of going straight over to test, we actually got to push edit because we have to put in our raw data. Now, if you have anything in there already, just highlight the top of the list, hit clear, and then when you go down into the list, it will all disappear. Clear, go down, and it's all gone. Now we want to enter in all these pieces of data here in list 1. Okay, so here's all the data all entered in. Okay, so I guess really before we do all this, we probably should do our I'm going to go through and just take you through all 6 of our steps that we had on our notes. So the first thing is to write the null hypothesis, and that's always where the mean is going to equal whatever it should be. So the mean should be right at 1,000. Okay, in this case 1,000 grams. The alternate hypothesis is going to be that the mean is not going to be 1,000 grams. And then this one here, we're specifically looking for underfilling the bag, right? So we want to know if the mean happens to be less than 1,000 grams. That's our alternate hypothesis. Okay. Step 2, our significance level is at 1%. So that's going to be 0.01. Our third step is to get what the t-value is. And our fourth step is what the p-value is. So that's when we go back into our calculator to find our t-value and our p-value. So now that we've got the data in there, we go back into stat, go over to test, and we're going to go down to the t-test again. Now when we get to this screen here, we don't have the statistics anymore. We have the raw data. So we want to go over here, and once you push this raw data button here, these things change. But we still know that our average, what we're shooting for there is 1,000 grams. So we're going to put 1,000 in here instead of 1. Okay. Our list, we put it in list 1. If you happen to put it in a different list, you'd have to change that. But that should be pretty easy to remember that. Frequency in our case are all going to be 1. And then when we get down here, again, they're asking us, we're looking to see if they're underfilled. So we want to know if we're going to end up being less than 1,000. So our average right there is 1,000. So we want to know if it's going to be less than that. And so we're actually is the same one that we used on number 1 here. And we're going to do calculate. And there we go. So we've got our t-value is 1.67. Our p-value is 0.931, we'll call it. Right? Our fifth step is to write the rejection inequality. So reject HO if, and that's where we have our, if the p-value is less than our significance level, right? So we know our significance level there is 0.01. Our p-value in this case is 0.931. Is 0.931 less than 0.01? That is false. Okay, so we only reject HO if this is true. So since it's false, that means we're going to accept HO. So step 6 is accept HO, which means that our mean is going to be pretty close to 1,000 grams. And if you look at that, our mean is going to be really close to 1,000 grams. It looks like it'd be a smidge over, but not by enough significance to make it matter. Okay. Our conclusion then on this should be we're going to accept HO, which gives us this here, and then there's not enough evidence to support that the machine underfills the bags. Okay. So there's our little explanation of that. And that takes care of number 6 there. Okay. If you have any further questions on any of this, please feel free to ask in class. Thanks.